Okay, so here we are for part two of the ethics presentation. We will pick up where we left off from part one, and that is where to see ethical behavior. Generally, you'll find ethical behavior demonstrated by a role model. A role model is a person whose behavior, example, or success is emulated or followed by others, especially by younger people. Now, when we talk about a role model, we generally think of good role models and not bad role models. You could have a person who uh, demonstrates poor behavior and poor judgment, and people would like to follow that. I'm sure you've seen that with a lot of celebrities and things. But here we're talking about somebody who is demonstrating good behavior and good ethical um, values and things. Social responsibility is when a business contributes to the well being of a community. So if a business were to donate time or money to some type of nonprofit or some event or something that was going on in the community, that would be demonstrating social responsibility. So what happens through the result of ethical or unethical behavior? The effects of ethical and unethical behavior will affect the individual, the business that they work for, and the economy as a whole. There's positive and negative effects, and in your notes, there's a place for both of these. Under the positive effects, the individual might get a satisfaction, job satisfaction. They might like being at work and can't wait to get to work. They may be respected by others, other employees, by the boss, by customers, or the person might get some kind of acknowledgement, employee of the day, a raise, uh, some kind of comment card that where they list the person and what they did, the good things they did for the customer and things like that. On the negative side, the person might show some guilt. Uh, they might be disrespected by the other employees, and that person might be or might get a bad reputation for being a bad employee or somebody that you don't want to do business with. And then that can then, in turn, get transferred to the business, and people will stop going to the business because of the behavior of one or two employees. Okay, so in your notes is a place for ethical behaviors and ethical violations or unethical behaviors. On the test, outcome test, you're going to have to list a series of ethical behaviors and unethical behaviors. And remember, once again, that are connected to the um, personality traits that we talked about before, the character. So, on the ethical side of things, the first ethical behavior is punctuality, being on time, and not showing up for work late or anything like that. Responsibility is number two. So if you have been given a task to do something that you carry it out to the best of your ability and don't put it off or do just a halfway job on it. Do it to the best that you can. Number three is integrity. Integrity is doing what you say. So if you say that it is wrong to lie, then you're not somebody who's going to lie. Or if you say that it is wrong to steal, then you're not going to steal. So basically, it's practicing what you preach. If you say something is wrong, you're going to um, show it that you mean it or you believe in it by behaving that way as well. Number four is loyalty. Loyalty is sticking up for the business, not bad mouthing the business when you're out in the community or with your friends, things like that. But loyalty can only go so far. If the business is doing something illegal, then it's not loyal to um, keep your mouth shut if they're doing something that's wrong or hazardous or illegal. Like if they're dumping pollutants into the environment, keeping your mouth shut isn't loyal. Um, So loyalty does have its limits. Number five is teamwork. There's not very many jobs that you can get nowadays where you're not going to have to work with somebody. Either interact with a customer, with your boss, with fellow employees, with other people, vendors who come in and try to sell you stuff. So you need to be able to work with people and work as a team. and not allow the other people to do all the work and you take all the credit, or blame people when things happen, mistakes happen, and stuff like that. Number 6 is a positive attitude. So when you're at work, even if you've had a bad day, you try not to project that you're in a bad mood, or that things have gone wrong. You put on a happy face and do your job. And once you're off the clock, and then you can go back to worrying about that your car broke down, or some other things that you have to deal with. You don't take that stuff to work with you, um, because that just brings down everybody there at work. The next one is professionalism. Professionalism means different things in different jobs, but basically, professionalism is acting in a manner that's appropriate for the job that you have. So, being professional as a doctor or a lawyer would be different than acting professional as a sports player, or a truck driver, or a cashier at fast food restaurant, or something like that. They're each going to have their own levels of behaviors, what is expected of them in terms of attitude and dress, and body language, and everything else. So professionalism is just acting in a manner that's appropriate to the position that you're in. Okay, let's look on the other side of things here. We're going to look at some common workplace ethical violations, or common workplace unethical behavior. And we can see here from this picture on here that she's not too happy with his hand on her shoulder, so that would be an example of an ethical violation. So number one on the ethical violations are employer intimidation. If your boss requires you to do things that are outside of your normal duties, uh, under threat of some retaliation, then that would be employer intimidation. For example, if you're a cashier at a fast food restaurant, and the boss comes in and says, you need to go out and wash my car, otherwise I'm going to fire you. That would be employer intimidation, because washing his car is not part of your normal job duties. Number 2 is safety violations. If the workplace requires you to do something that's unsafe, that is an ethical violation. Now, sometimes the employer would say something and not give you a specific instructions, and then you go out and do something that is unsafe. That's not necessarily an ethical violation of the workplace. It could be an ethical violation on your part. But if the boss says that you're supposed to um, change the light bulbs in a chandelier in the middle of the restaurant, and tells you just to climb up on the table to do it, then that would be a safety violation. If the boss said that you're supposed to change the light bulbs in the chandelier, and tells you to go out back into the shed and get the ladder and bring it out, but you don't do that and you just climb up on the table instead, that's a safety violation as well, but it's your safety violation, not the workplace's safety violation. Number 3 is time theft. Time theft is something that occurs all too often, maybe way too often, in workplaces. Time theft is when people who are on the clock, on the job, are not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. So if you're a stock person at Walmart and your job is to stock the shelves when you're on the clock, and instead you're over in the electronics section playing the video games, or messing with the demo phones, or you're talking with your friends on your phone, or doing anything else, looking at the fish in the aquariums, uh, then that would be time theft, because you're not doing the job that you're getting paid to do. And that happens an awful lot, but it's an ethical violation just the same. Number 4 is stealing. So whether that be stealing uh, yourself, if you're the employee and you stick something under your shirt as you leave work for the day, or whether you allow somebody else to steal. You see your friends come in and shoplift something and you don't stop them. Both of those are examples of stealing, and both of those are examples of workplace ethical violations. Any other type of misconduct is also an ethical violation. So I once watched a video on YouTube where these stock people at a big box department store were supposed to be stocking the shelves. It was on the overnight shift where the store was closed, and then as soon as their supervisor left, they all stopped stocking the shelves, and they went to the toy department and got some Super Soaker squirt guns, unboxed them, filled them up with water, and had this big, massive squirt gun fight all over the store. And they got water on different products and on the floor, which causes a slip hazard and all sorts of different things. And then when they were done at the end of the video, they put the Super Soakers back in the boxes and put them back on the shelves, and then acted as if nothing happened. And that's a form of misconduct. Anything that you do that's not what you're supposed to be doing is misconduct. Harassment. Harassment is also a vocabulary word, so after you write harassment down as the ethical workplace violation, scroll back up to the top where we have our vocabulary and put in any improper behavior directed at a person that results in the person being offended. Also, the person committing the behavior should have known that the behavior is unwelcome. So what that means is that if you perform some kind of behavior and you didn't have any expectation that it should have been wrong, then they can't call it harassment the first time. For example, let's say that you're a new employee at a business, and all the other employees are calling one particular employee by a nickname. Let's say his name is Tiny, and then you want to talk to him, and you come up and say, uh, "Hey, Tiny, how's it going?" And then that employee turns around and says, "Hey, you can't call me that. That's harassment." Uh, well, you didn't have any indication that that behavior would be unwelcome because you witnessed other people using that same term. So it's not harassment unless you have an expectation of it being unwelcome. As soon as the person turns around and say, "You can't use that nickname with me. I don't know you. You're not my friend," then you know that if you use it again, then that would be a harassment, and you could be written up or fired for something like that. Now, we all know that there are terms out there that everybody knows are not welcome terms, and you don't get a free use of those type of things. There's behaviors and there are words and phrases that you just can't use. Um, but if it's a common word or phrase, or there's no expectation that that's bad to begin with, then you have to be told that it's unwelcome behavior before it becomes harassment. So number 7 is greed. So if you go to work and your goal is to make money in any way, shape, or form, so you'll oversell a product, or you'll sell more than you need to sell to somebody, or um, promise things that a product can do that it can't just to earn that commission, then that would be greedy because you're trying to get more pay at the expense of somebody else's solution for the product that they're buying and stuff. So that would be greed. Number 8, accepting bribes or kickbacks. That's accepting money in terms of some kind of a favor. So if I was um, a beverage distributor, and I went to a grocery store and told the manager, I really need to get rid of this particular brand of soft drink, and if you will put it on your end cap here where a lot of people will see it and maybe try it out and buy it, then I will give you $50. And that $50 then would be a bribe. So it's a payment uh, uh, in order to get some kind of a favor, a monetary payment, money payment. A kickback, on the other hand, would be the same thing, except that it's based on uh, the activity that's going on. So the same situation, I still have this soft drink that I need to get rid of, and instead I go up to the manager and say, "Hey, if you put this drink on the end cap, I'll give you 20% of all the sales that are made of these items on the end cap." That would be a kickback because the amount of money that the manager is getting back is based on the amount of sales that are made. It's not just a straight dollar amount. Number 9 is lying. So if you um, falsely tell a customer something, or you call in sick when you're not sick, or other things like that. That would be an ethical violation. Number 10 is falsifying records. Much like lying, falsifying records is not telling the truth, but the records are written down. So if you write something down that didn't happen, or uh, you have to give an account of some accident and you don't put the truth on what happened, things like that, that would be falsifying records. It's an ethical violation, and you could get reprimanded or fired for that. So, for example, if you work at Target and your job is to clean the restrooms every hour, then and you have to initial it every hour in there, and you just go in at the end of your shift and initial all the little boxes, and you never once checked it all night, then that would be falsifying records. Uh, you might not think it's that big of a deal, but if somebody should slip and fall because of a hazard in there that you were supposed to be checking for, or nowadays with the pandemic, if the area is not being sanitized good enough and people get sick and sue the store, then it could all fall on you, and you'll probably get fired for something like that. And number 11 is business abuse. Business abuse is another vocabulary word. It's any illegal, unethical, or irresponsible act done against an employer. So this we're talking about employees acting out against their employer. And we have some examples of that here coming up. So the first type of business abuse is stealing. So if you're an employee and you steal money from the cash register, if you take supplies like pens or calculators or staples or anything like that, if you steal time theft, and you goof around when you're earning your paycheck. If you take merchandise off the shelves, it's all forms of stealing, and it's all business abuse. It's all abuse against the business, against their ability to stay in business, make a profit. Number two is vandalism. So if you write on the walls or um, scratch words on different things, or any type of vandalism like that against the business, or damage the business's property in any way on purpose, then that is vandalism. Three, falsifying records. We already just talked about that. If you lie on any type of official written document and things, then that could cause the business to lose their license. If you falsify something on a health report or something like that, an OSHA report, then they could lose their ability to stay in business. So that would be a type of business abuse. Breaking confidentiality. In part one, we talked about not giving out proprietary information. So once again, if you work at Kentucky Fried Chicken or KFC, you're not going to give out that recipe for the original herbs and spices for the chicken. You're not going to smuggle a packet of those spices out so that they could be analyzed or anything like that, because that is a trade secret, a company secret. And if you give up those secrets, then you are committing business abuse. Number five, ignoring safety rules. So once again, if the boss tells you to um, dust the chandelier or change light bulbs in the chandelier, and you don't follow the proper procedure, and you ignore those safety rules, then that's a form of business abuse, because if you get hurt or somebody else gets hurt because of your actions, then the store could be liable, or the business could be liable and have to pay if they get sued. And six, any other irresponsible behavior. So coming to work drunk or high, using drinking at work, or smoking at work when that's against the rules, or anything that you're not supposed to be doing, goofing around, um, trying out the product and then putting it back in the package, things like that. That's all irresponsible behavior, and it's all abuse against the business. So what can happen if you act unethically? Well, first of all, you'll get a bad reputation, and in turn, the business will get a bad reputation because of one or two bad employees. And that bad reputation would cause people to leave. You'll lose existing customers, and you'll get fewer new customers because of word of mouth and social media posts and things like that. So, with fewer customers, you're going to make less money. The business might eventually have to declare bankruptcy and either go out of business or restructure, which means that they would be letting go employees and things like that, or maybe firing everybody and then rehiring them at a a smaller wage or less of a wage that they had before. Things like that happen in bankruptcy. Depending on what the unethical behavior is, the business might have to pay some fines, and some fines are pretty healthy fines. So, for example, if your job is to clean the sneeze guard on the salad bar at a restaurant, and instead of using the appropriate cleaner, you use ammonia or bleach or something like that, and you're spraying it over the food or above the food. That would be a violation of the health laws, spraying chemicals over food like that. And so, uh, if the health inspector sees that or it gets reported that somebody else saw that, then the business would have to pay a big fine, or they could even lose their license to serve food. Even if it's not a really bad thing that gets done, unethical behavior decreases productivity because whenever there's uh, misconduct going around or time theft going around or other things like that happening in the store, that means that the employees aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so they're not going to get as much work done as they should be able to get done. Um, Unethical behavior also causes decreased productivity, even in the people that are not doing the misconduct. So if you have a group of employees that are goofing around all the time, that's going to have an effect on the model employees that just want to sit there and do their job, because they'll have to cover for these other employees, or they'll get distracted by the what's going on with the misconduct and things like that, and so their productivity is going to go down as well. Number six, they're going to lose those good, valuable employees because they're not going to stick around. If they think that the business allows these uh, different things going on, the unethical behavior, the misconduct of things, uh, good employees are going to start looking for other jobs because they don't want to get blamed for that bad behavior. They don't want to get caught up with everybody else who's doing it and have some kind of a reprimand or punishment of some sort, even though they weren't part of it. So they're going to start looking for other jobs, and the people that are actually doing the work won't be there to do the work anymore. So the misconduct will be more and more apparent.